to the Pink Chakra Psychic line is 888-235-7374.
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is achieveradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/achieveradio.
Hi, I'm Anne-Marie, and hello, Joseph. How are you today?
I'm
Hey,
fine.
Joseph,
How are
do you
you?
think good? Do you think cars can get haunted?
I have heard of it. I don't know if it's so, but I suppose it's possible. If
I,
houses can be haunted,
if houses can be
properties. Yeah, houses. I think anywhere where people
res
are. I mean, I knew of a psychic who told me that he saw ghosts everywhere on his way to work, and he was used to seeing this sort of thing because that's how he always was. He would see them on buses and trains, taking public transportation. He'd see them in stores. I think that if there be ghosts, true hauntings, that that it's possible. Sometimes hauntings are not actually ghosts; they're just simply like a recording on
hologram, a
a
hologram.
hologram. It's an odd phenomena, but they're not conscious entities. It's more like looking at something that was and has left an after image upon our reality. But I don't. But it is. I think it's possible. Yeah.
I
Why, do you have a
remember,
haunted car? Have you got a
well,
haunted car?
I thought I did. When I first bought my Cherokee, I have a white um, Cherokee, and we just brought it home from the car lot. Of course, it was used. I can't afford a new car, and it was
Oh, I can.
nice. It was very nicely kept up.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I didn't do a Carfax or anything on it, so I really didn't know its history, and we got a good price on it.
Hmm.
And I was painting my house, and it was just kind of fresh into the parking lot that day. And I remember turning around to look at it. And as I did that, I saw the door open and a man in a golf shirt and a pair of khaki pants, probably in his mid 50s, come walking towards me. And I thought, oh, who's that? And it was no one. But the
Oh.
person came from my car
Uh-huh.
afterwards finding out that someone had had a heart attack in that car.
Oh.
And that, I always wondered if that was the person, that,
Well, it
and,
sounds like it seems like it may have been that person. However, it's possible that what you saw was what I
hol-
was talking about,
a hologram.
the after image of the typical thing that he would have been doing, if he's, if it was something he enjoyed and something he did often, I mean, of course,
Hmm.
we all drive often, but I mean, some people, it has more meaning to them. Um, yeah, I think what you saw was, like one of those, like what we said, a recording on a hologram, some sort
Yeah.
of, yeah. And I wouldn't worry
So,
about that
oh,
unless you start having some problems with the car.
I,
Then I would say, well, then it's a matter of concern.
I was
But he
not,
didn't
I was,
say anything, and he didn't
no,
appear to be conscious of your presence, right?
no, he was not conscious of my presence at all.
Yeah. So
And so, and,
I
and
would
so what do
say
you,
Yeah,
What do
it
you
was.
think of what do you think of these crazy shows where people go into homes with these machines that click, 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 and they say, "Hello, how are you?" And then the voice answers back to them.
Oh,
Uh, have
well,
you seen shows?
I have watched a few on occasion, but I'm
They
not a
they can got
fan.
they can really
I mean,
unfair.
I do find paranormal investigations very interesting because very often they prove that the problems are actually structural, or sometimes it's like that's the whole idea. Is it haunted or not? And if the investigation shows that it isn't, well, that's a good thing too.
Or
That's um,
Yeah, because when I watch these
mm,
paranormal shows, and my husband hates them. He goes, "Oh, not another paranormal show." And
yeah,
I
I know.
and for myself, I'm like you. I'm like you in that I see them more as residual energy.
Hmm.
Everything in this world is electrical. They say if you were to just take waves, radio waves of the energy of everything that's
Hmm.
going in this life, in life itself would just be a radio wave. So
Right.
to me, it's nothing bizarre to think that
Yeah, I
we leave.
wouldn't say it was, I wouldn't even call such an apparition or sight a supernatural event. I would
Mm.
say it was more electrical, more, residual, like you said, which is the perfect word I was looking for, and I couldn't come up with it before. But yeah, residual energy. Um, I don't
Do you?
consider that to be supernatural. I don't consider that to be a spirit.
No, no, and I have a really hard time thinking that anything has to stay on this earth for a
Mm.
long time. I do believe in negative and positive energy,
Oh,
and I
yes.
and I do believe that many of what we call hauntings or haunted houses could actually be sitting on residual negative energy,
Hmm.
and w-
Absolutely.
but one of the things I did know, I was kind of researching haunted cars, and it says, what was it? Visions of hell and or the torture and killing of loved ones in a car may be the result of a car-based poltergeist, but could also be the result of a severe in-cabin exhaust leak. Before
Yeah.
calling a priest to get your car exercised, check your exhaust manifold
Hmm.
filled for leaks. And I know that that's true for houses that are close to electrical power units. They say that there's something about
Hmm.
that whacks our own energy out.
Well, and not only that, but if you live next to a high power area, like say a power station or the electrical lines, there is also evidence that, or theory. I know that people have gotten cancer from living next to these
Oh,
high
wow.
energy places. And it's not anything supernatural. It's something that affects us. And I think if
Oh,
you're
yeah.
on something that has that energy, you're going to be affected. And also, people need to investigate the history of their homes. I mean, there are people who live in homes that were once used as meth labs, and that never goes away. That poison and the toxins are real, and they stay there, and people that
Can't
live
they
there
clear them?
begin to.
They can't clear that?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's a lot of trouble. I do know that people have actually shown up, in doctors' offices, and they had symptoms as though they were users,
Wow.
just from being in that house. And
Mm.
I think it's really very scary. Um, I think you probably would have to gut the place just to get rid of that. But I do think all that needs to be looked into before you think you have ghosts. I think um, you need to. A person needs to really look at the structure and what's causing it. That's why I do think that a person should be skeptical in order to really get to what the cause is, because I think if a person just jumps to us to the assumption and we keep building on these stories, then we don't really get to know the truth. I mean, then it kind of like makes the whole thing seem as though it's made up, and so you have to be able to prove that that you have checked every known cause or what it could be. We
And
have a
the
lot of
fact,
funny sounds in this house. I mean, we have odd plumbing that does odd things. I mean, I have a toilet that flushes all by itself. And
uh,
but I'm still convinced that there's a mechanical reason for that. I mean, I know that the handle has to be pushed, but I also know that vibrations can also cause that too. I mean, if the water is moving, it can cause a toilet to flush, or if it's leaking and a bowl fills up, it will flush
or if the
sometimes. Yeah,
foundation is crooked, doors will open and close by
right, right.
themselves. Or
So you have to
one
consider
of the
all of
one of the
this.
things one of the things also is I get a kick out of some of these paranormal investigations that we'll hear hissing noises in abandoned buildings or growls, and I'm thinking, well, of course there's probably animals and coons and
Oh, yeah.
rats and things in these buildings, but they don't show that. I totally
Oh,
do
yeah.
believe that there is residual energy in prisons and places of devastating crisis,
Oh, yeah.
probably in Holocaust buildings. Anything that has huge crisis is going to absorb the emotional residue energy of the people that were having hell in that place. But I also feel that there is land and energy that can absorb long, long historical periods of negative energy. And we don't take the time to really check on the history of our land or to, before building and things. And um, yeah, so that was just something. So the other thing I wanted to discuss is, do you have, and I do want to say hello to Susan from Massachusetts,
Hi,
and I want to say
Susan.
hello to Brenda from Ohio. If
Yeah.
you would like a reading, please know that you can go to 602-666-6027, and you can call in, or you can quick your questions. I feel that right now, with the first day of March, it feels like maybe spring is on the way, but then it's really crappy out there.
Well, yeah, it's not a very nice day here either. But it's
Look at us, we're
funny.
both
I was
Virgo.
so
We're both,
busy making stews and soups for,
ah,
for February and March, because these are cold months and I love those long cooking recipes. And now I feel like I should be going outside and grilling instead.
is it nice
Well,
where
with
you're
our
at?
early March, yeah. Hmm?
It is nice. It's nice where you're at then today.
Well, it's been balmy, but it's not exactly a nice day today. We have a lot of wind and we had some wild thunderstorms yesterday. We were surrounded by tornadoes.
Really, I hate tornadoes.
Yes.
Oh,
And that's a bit early for tornadoes out here. I mean, I do live in Tornado Alley, as they call it, but that's usually only in the spring and the summer, not
didn't
this early.
did Missouri just get a huge amount of them? I think it was Missouri, wasn't it?
Mhm,
They houses and people died and everything. They showed some of the devastation,
mhm.
but at least we're blessed to have basements. We live in the Midwest and people
Yes.
have basements, but then you go into the South and they're starting to have tornadoes and they
Hmm.
don't have the basements. And those
Right.
poor people in trailers that have those nighttime tornadoes, it just must be horrible.
Well, it amazes me that there are many homes out here that are built without basements, and it makes me wonder. Well, they have managed to stand for about 100 years,
Well,
some of
that's
these places. Yeah, but I've always felt it was important to have a basement in your house, to be up off the ground, and and to have a place where you could store, you know, items like pantry items and canned goods, and also a place that you could go to in case there's a really bad storm and you may have to run to the basement. And I think it's important. When I was a child, we spent a lot of time in the basement during the spring and summer because I lived in Lyons in Illinois, and that was another place where we had plenty of tornadoes. We had one that almost touched down. And I remember that because I was in school. We had to go down to the church basement. Um, and then we were told how lucky we were that really it looked like it was coming our way, and it went up, and then it touched down in the next town. So it just kind of did this skip, and we lucked out really because that could have taken out the town. It really could have, but luckily we had the basements. Now then you go, well, yeah, being in the basement's great, but when your house collapses and you have
On
fallen
top of you.
bricks on top of you, and that happened in Starved Rock. So, I think back in the 1990s, I loved going to Starved Rock. Utica, Illinois, is a nice little town. It's great. But there were these people that they were in a pub at the time when they had a tornado, and everybody in the pub had gone down into the basement, which seemed to be a normal, safe thing to do. Unfortunately, the building was made out of sandstone, and it collapsed upon the people, and it killed everybody inside the building.
Oh, no. How
It was
many?
horrible. It was a horrible, tragedy. But that's, you do what you can. You hope for the best, and you know,
We all have to check out sometime.
well,
But
sometimes it seems like they're aiming for you.
I know it. I know it. And it'd be nice if we got to check out that it's a nice, easy
Well,
way. But
just it'd be nice if a person can just check out naturally and just, at the end of your lifespan and just pass, you go to bed one day and that's it,
yep,
and
yep,
some people have been given that. And,
yeah.
I was recently reading about a ritual in Tibet, the Tibetan monks, that when somebody dies, there are usually two priests there, and they have their bells, and at the moment of death, one of them says into the dead person's ear, "You've died. Go to the farthest light." There are two.
Oh,
Go to the far, and they do this. That's because the body still, the ears, the hearing is
yes,
the last thing that shuts down.
that's
And
absolutely true.
it has been discovered, that brains of the deceased still have a low grade
Frequency.
frequency for a little while after death. And also the hearing still works, which is a very odd thing. And that's been illustrated sometimes in movies. They try to give you that feeling when somebody dies, the point of view, everything goes black, but you still hear the last words of somebody speaking to you.
Right, right.
And that was to illustrate the point, like, yes, we do still hear for a short time. And I was thinking, wow, then it's really important maybe to have a peaceful death where you're not being rushed out of the of the death room and into the morgue. That maybe perhaps the body should lie as it is
Well,
for a little
I
while
I
until,
I know I
you
know
know
when my father died, um, many years ago, my sisters and I were there, and the nurse says, I says, "Daddy's gone," and she says, "No, don't say that." She says, "Wait 3 minutes, and then you can say that, but don't say anything right now." And I thought, well, that's odd, but she says they can
yeah,
still hear. They can still hear.
yeah.
And so, I mean, he knew he was leaving this earth, but I guess the main thing is that um, everybody
Well, I would
has.
say if that person has a belief system and always appreciated prayers. I see no harm in saying those prayers, because if they
Mhm.
can hear that, that helps. And
Yeah.
I say to, if you're going to speak, speak of loving things and tell the person how much you love them.
Mm,
And that's probably the best thing, you know,
yes.
and to not say anything bad or, you know, too sad, and try not to
Right.
cry or weep for a while.
Right.
Um, that makes a lot of sense to me. I could understand that.
I want to say hello to
Yeah.
Mara also. Mara also is in the in quick room. And so I do want to do one simple little it is advertised that I want to do simple steps to clear the energy in
Hmm.
your car or house. And it says clearing energy is something that at first may seem a little out there. But how many times have you watched a scene in a movie where someone is sitting in bed, depressed or sad, and the best friend walks in the bedroom, parts the curtains, and opens the windows to
Yes.
start the process of cheering them up?
Yeah.
You may have even done this yourself. So,
Mhm.
in its simplest form, the act of letting sunlight in and fresh air into a room is very, very energy cleansing,
Well,
also known as space clearing, and also something that in the old days they did after someone died. You opened the window to let the spirits.
sunshine is very important.
Mm,
And if you're depressed, you need to get out in the sun. It helps, and it helps to have sun coming in through your windows. Depressed people very often have a shortage of vitamin D in
mm.
their systems. They
That
need they
D3 or D.
D3, the sunshine vitamin that you get from the sun.
What about
If you don't
K?
get
Is that
enough
vitamin
sun, you can
K?
get really depressed.
What about vitamin K? Is that supposed to be something related to
Now,
sun
isn't
as well?
I don't know very much about vitamin K. I thought it was one of the B's that was called
It
K.
could be
It's
that
one of
well as
those.
it also.
Isn't K B5, or
I think it is. I think it is. Yes.
is that what it? Because I know I heard that B5 was another vitamin that was important for emotional well-being, um, and a few other things like hair or something
Yeah.
like that. You know,
Well, I was listening to one of those late shows, and this guy was talking about how he was on the road with all these comedians and they were all in their 30s and 40s, and he said it's totally different being on the road with middle-aged comedians because now instead of drugs we're injecting vitamin
they're
B12.
taking vitamins. Well, it's funny. I do take, well, I have a vitamin regimen, and actually, I take glucosamine for arthritis, and it helps, and it works for the dogs too. And I guess that I've been told it's the veterinarian's secret is glucosamine, and people have discovered an improvement because it does give a lube to those joints where that liquid has dried up. And that's what causes the pain. It's the bone
And
on bone. Yeah.
magnesium as well.
Um, and plus, I do take vitamin B. I started to take vitamin D, and because I didn't used to. And really can't say if it's helped, but because it's too recent to tell. But I thought I would give it a try because I don't get out in the sun enough in the winter. I'm pretty much indoors most of the time. If it's cold out, I don't like the cold, so therefore I don't get out. And I think, well, gee, maybe I should take some vitamin D. Actually, it is good for your bones. It's good for your immune system. It's good for your teeth, your hair, your skin, your eyes. It's good for so much. So if you are deficient, you might notice some of those symptoms that can cause that. Now, of course, I'm not an expert or a nutritionist, but I can only tell you about if it works for me. And at this time, I don't know. I can tell you that glucosamine does work for me. And I can tell you that echinacea helps my colds. If I ever, it has kept me from getting colds and flu. Um, because I used to get that quite a bit when I was a kid. Because if you're around other students, it's like being in a disease factory. And when I worked for a school system, I got socked with a really bad case of the flu, and I had suddenly realized I had never had the flu in my life.
Wow.
What I thought was the flu in the past was actually a stomach, um, what do you call, a bacterial infection,
Mhm.
and that I always thought was the flu. And then I had the real flu, and oh Lord, I thought I was going to die. Um, so I thought I can't go through this again because it was really awful. I was really laid up from that, and you have to watch out for secondary infections with the flu. It takes a lot of lives, especially old people. When you're elderly, a lot of people don't realize that there's a secondary infection that you need to worry about, and that is the pneumonia that gets you. And so, and the signal for that, according to shows like The Doctors, and I've been hearing common things from all these shows and all the information, they always say, if you're doing better and then you have a relapse and you're getting worse, you should go to a doctor because that is a bad sign. That
Mhm.
means you have that secondary infection. Now, we had a friend of the family that
Joseph,
died from this.
I'm gonna
Hmm.
finish this little bit of article, and then we can go back into this, okay?
All righty, sure.
So, rooms can hold the energy of all the events, emotions, people, and activities that have taken place in the space, as well as sick people. In order to have a fresh start and create more harmony and peace in our surroundings or our cars, it can be helpful to clear the energy once in a while. Most people would agree that a common and essential aspect of caring for our homes is cleaning away dust and dirt. No one would argue that letting dirt accumulate over time negatively affects our health and dampens our spirits, but also detrimental to a healthy home is built up stagnant energy. Stagnant energy can prevent us from reaching our full potential by holding past issues, past emotions, old patterns that no longer serve us. Now, that would be in any room that you spend a lot of time in, your car, your house, your workspace. A good time to clear energy is before moving into a new space or in the springtime or after a construction project, which is very bad for some reason or other, creating energy to muck up.
Mm.
It also says after an illness or argument, during or after any major life event, anytime you feel stuck or down, or when your space simply doesn't feel right. So it says open your front door and as many windows as possible. And after you cleanse the energy, you can seal the positive energy in your home. Imagine wrapping your home in light and visualize a string of white golden light and wrap your home like a package with a bow on top. It says also to remember if you would like to use a space clearing tool. Then here is a ceremony. The ceremony is best done on a sunny day after your home has been physically cleaned. Close the windows and outside doors and light a sage stick. And the sage stick only needs to produce a steady stream of smoke. It does not need to flame. You may wish to carry a fireproof or ceramic dish to catch the ashes or embers. Set an intention to clear that energy within your car or your space and ask to let go of anything, the old divorce, the old breakup, the fights, whatever, that does not serve you to your highest good or that is not in alignment with the truth of who you are. And you may wish to set specific intentions. I am now letting go of any fear, hurt, negativity, or anger that may be present. Wave the sage stick, allow the smoke to travel around the perimeter of each room, open drawers, closets, cabinets, anything that closes, and allow the smoke to go inside these enclosed areas. I have noticed that more places are also that going into sage spray, and
Oh,
I mean like actual pure sage
you mean
spray,
like from an essential oil? For the,
essential
the oil,
oil.
essential oils. I do have
Yeah.
sage essential oil, and actually, I prefer to burn the oil because it's a little cleaner than something burning. I've kind of gotten away from the burning
In
of incense sticks because I do share a home with some people that have breathing issues. So if I'm going to do that, I check with them first, and then I say, well, how about if I just burn a little oil and that will help, and that seems to work out really well. As for sprays, well, I don't know. I don't really have. I've never tried it. No, I really don't like to spray things like that in the house. But
I there's a shop called
yeah.
Eye of Horus that has essential oils in a spray form,
Hmm.
so that it's what you're doing is pure, and it's basically just sweet sage, white sage, but it's pure. It's
Hmm.
liquefied. So then it's
Okay.
put into the spray, and you just give it a
Well,
little
it's
spray.
it's a way to use our modern method to an old ritual, which is great, and I don't have a problem with that. If it works, it's the same thing. It's
Yeah,
fine. Yeah.
yeah.
We're having water issues again. Remember we talked about
Oh,
that?
yes.
That there's this great sadness is what, and it's just really weird. We have leaks that are not consistent. We have behavior of these appliances that's not consistent. Um, and you were correct in saying that they would go away in September, then come back a brief time, and then go away in October. And that did happen. Remarkably, they did go away, and everything was fine until a few weeks ago. And so we have inconsistent leaks, things that we can't seem to pinpoint. And behavior of water appliances is acting rather odd again, and toilets are behaving strangely. Little pesky things. And I swear we've replaced parts and all sorts of things, and we still have this problem. And I'm beginning to think it's being caused by one person. There's one person. There's a consistency. It seems like, oh, do you ever have, okay, I have a friend who I swear in my last apartment, I never had trouble with my toilet ever. But every time this person spent more than a day with me, I had issues with the mechanisms in this toilet, and it would take weeks for it to return back to working properly. And now we have issues with the toilet in this house, and this is the same person. So I'm thinking, I wonder if he's got like a little potty ghost that's hanging
Ah,
around him doing
I
I don't
saw
know
that. I
what do you
saw
call it, the
that on a
potty gremlin is it. I'm expecting something to come
yes.
crawl.
Yes,
Is
there
there
are
such a
potty
thing?
ghosts. I saw a whole paranormal show about a potty ghost. That
You're
this when
kidding me.
the people it only came when people took a dump. And
Yes.
and so they had, and it was just crazy. They could talk to the ghost. And it showed them, and they were like had their pants down, and you could see their bare little legs sticking out of the booth. And this guy said, while he's taking a dump, he would say, if the ghost is with us, and it would be like in a restaurant or in a public bathroom, let all the faucets go at once, and they all went all at
Oh,
once.
Lord.
And then he said, turn them off. It would turn off. Now, this is one of the supposedly legitimate shows, but of course, then somebody says, I'm going to test this. And he pretended to be taking a dump. It didn't happen. So
Right.
it seemed to be that the ecstasy of taking a dump for some reason attracted this poor constipated ghost who seemed to have a wonderful time channeling the energy.
Well,
Okay, that's
I
good.
wonder about that because, I grew up in a house, and I swear we always had a toilet issue whenever we had intended to have a large group of people over. Like at Christmas, everything's fine until all of a sudden, boom, Christmas Day, the company's coming, toilet issues. This would happen every time we had a holiday and a large group of people. Now, this wouldn't happen, and I know that
Oh,
you know. But this would happen right before they all came. And it's just like, it's like clockwork every single time. And I think it is, and I remember being a kid and thinking, why is it can't we have a toilet that functions normally like other people do? you know
yeah.
and I never had issues with, now maybe it was somebody in that house that was causing this, I don't know, I mean, with weird energy, who knows, and it wasn't me, because I have lived in other places since and have never had an issue with any of these things. And
Mhm.
now we're back to this again. And and
Crazy.
it's like,
It's crazy. All
dad
right, we
nabbit.
got the potty going. We
Yeah.
better take, we have a few readings we need to get done here. We have
Okay.
20 minutes and 49 cents.
Oh,
40,
that went by
49
fast.
seconds.
49 cents.
20 minutes and 49 cents. We have Massachusetts Susan, who says, "Hi, Emery and Joseph. My job ends in April. I would like to know if you see anything new coming my way soon. Thanks so much."
Let's do
So
later.
looking for Susan and
Susan.
seeing whether she has perhaps her energy is going to bring the possibility of something bigger,
Oh, well,
better, or at least
well, I do know that that in the past, I do feel that that her energy was blocked in the past, as represented by the Ace of Wands upside down, which means a lot of work, but yet you're blocked. It just didn't seem like you were able to go anywhere. And this is something in your recent past. Um, uh, it's like kind of like a lethargic feeling that you've had that kind of follows you, and I do see that this is going away, and I do see that there's a change coming, because I do see that at the present time I do see that you have good beginnings happening. It's represented by the Two of Wands, and I do see that there are good beginnings, but I also see that what you thought was good has like turned out not to be so great. It could be, and that would tell me that that's the job that you've lost. It just so that's an acknowledgement that a job has ended and has left you feeling, ambivalent about the future. But what we have here is the Seven of Pentacles upside down in your future. So I do see that you might have some anxiety over some debts, because the new job isn't going to pay as much as what you're used to having. So you're going to have to crunch down. I do see that there is a job coming, but it's not the ideal job. But always know that, see it as a stepping stone. Okay, see it as a plan, because you're being encouraged to plan your actions better than you have been, to take stock and plan your finances, because I do see that what's coming as related by this card, that you may have some credit problems if you don't watch your spending, because the job that you're going to get isn't going to solve a lot of the issues, and you might be used to living a little higher, and it's become something you're used to doing, and the new job won't allow you to do that, so you have to kind of pull back your activities a little bit and your spending in order to make it work. I would say it's not going to happen right away, the job. I'm seeing sevens, so I would say the soonest you'll find it, that you might find something, might be about 7 weeks, you know.
that makes sense to me. It also says it's very extremely important for you right now, Susan. And I have the card of magnetism,
Oh,
and it says you will attract and magnetize to you all that you need to get what you want. So
Mhm.
understand, if it says you've been kind of going into crisis mode, and understand that this is a time to really try to communicate in a positive way, because the next card I get is the card of communication. It says effectively communicate and clarify your needs in order to achieve your goals. So, what that says to me is that this is a time to stay positive, charming, and to understand that your communication will follow and you will attract to you a good job. But yes, I see the same as Joseph, that that job does not seem to be happening in May, but I do see something in June. So I'm going to say, he said not for 6 weeks. Was that right?
7. About
7.
7 weeks. Yeah,
Okay, so
sevens.
I'm going to say sometime in June is what I see.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, I would say use your time to communicate effectively. Make sure everything that you say is something that you want, that you would want someone to hear. Try not to go into pity party. Try not to talk in a negative way, um, about anybody or any past job.
Mhm.
You'll get a job, but I would agree with Joseph on 7 weeks. Brenda's from Ohio, and she says, moving in the next couple of weeks, will this be a
Oh,
positive move for me? And will I find employment right away in the new area? Um, I kind of would say
Brenda.
don't move until you've got a job first, but
Yeah. But let's
I
see what that would be what I would think, but I'm gonna let the cards tell us instead because that's only my opinion. you know, but it's not something I would do personally. I do see that the Eight of Cups in your past. I do see that there's been some disappointment and some dissatisfaction in recent events, and maybe not recent, but there's still things that are currently on your mind, or it might be something that you're feeling right now. And since it appears more in your past, it means that this is soon to go away. But it does influence you. I mean, it does influence your attitude. The disappointments do, it has given you perhaps a pessimistic view of possibilities. And that kind of an attitude perhaps has prevented you from seeing other opportunities because of the way you feel from the disappointments you've had. But I do see that you are somebody who has made dramatic changes in your life. You've done this before, and I do see that you are someone who carries through with your plans, which is very good. And at the present time, as revealed by the Three of Swords, I do see that you're currently actually having some problems with a loved one or some disagreements. And I do see that this needs your attention because I'm seeing a certain incompatibility in your thoughts and ideas together. And this might be causing you some distress. I do see that perhaps, you've been hurt, and so therefore you will hurt in return. And that's what happens a lot of times when things go sour. People act out of hurt. And always remember that when people are argumentative or mean, or angry, at the basis of it is because something has happened to hurt, and it's all out of hurt. So the cards are reminding you of this particular thing, which is showing in your present time. And coming up here, we have the Four of Pentacles upside down. And basically, is that I'm seeing that you're going to have a little bit of difficulty finding a job. I would say that is, I'm seeing fours, and I'm not seeing that as 4 days. That seems to be coming through more like it's going to be a few months, perhaps spring or summer. because I am seeing that it's a lot of things are going to be taking money. You're going to find yourself being nickeled and dimed by not having an income, and that's how reality does treat us when we don't have an income. It seems like everyone wants a piece of you, and you have to guard yourself against that sort of thing. You have to be very skeptical of any kind of a money scheme, because basically all of those things are designed to make the schemers richer, not the investor, not you. So,
I think I would add to that,
yeah,
um, Brenda, that I see you being released. I have the Eight of Swords, released from, and these are my very old faded cards,
I love.
released from an imprisoning situation, which had created a great deal of anxiety for you for a long time. And this is the Nine of Swords upside down. You decided to hell with that. You're getting out of it. And I'm also showing justice in the future, which indicates there may be a possible legal action, divorce, or some kind of um, situation coming up where it's a good decision you've made. You're moving on from what didn't work and from something that was dysfunctional. I'm going to add to that two energy cards. The energy card that I pick up says this is time to detach. Be certain that you will reach your goal while letting go of the crap that happened to you in the past that created this situation of having to move on. I
Mhm.
get the energy card of intuition that says, don't worry, you're exactly in life where you're supposed to be at exactly the right time, and you are being led to the right people and the right opportunities and the right places. I am shown also that good fortune is yours to be had in the future. And so that is something that's shown in the number 3. And I can't tell you whether that's June, that would March, April, May, maybe late May. So I feel that just detach. You're exactly where you're supposed to be.
Mhm.
Take a big old sigh, take a big old sigh, a big old breath of air, and clear your space, and you clear your car or whatever that you're going to be doing your traveling in.
Yeah. Part of the Four of Pentacles in your future is also a reminder to you that you shouldn't worry so much that it affects your chances. It creates a fear that can be something that can prevent you from having an opportunity. So do try to let go of some of those fears and worries, and so you can have that success, because it is yours. you know I do agree with Anne Marie on that. Yeah. But I
We
do
have
see that you have to let go of some things that have been pulling you down, you
we
know.
have Mara. We have Mara from New Hampshire who says, "Hey, Anne Marie and Joseph, can you do some cards for a financial reading over the next 6 months for me? Thanks so
What
much."
was the name again?
Mara
Who
from
is
New
it?
Hampshire.
Mara?
Mara,
Okay.
six
Mara,
month
okay.
prediction of financial.
Finances.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, finances. It is a big worry, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
I think basically it seems like a lot of people really, they just need to be secure, and you know, that's what the bottom line is. Well, well, I do see that Mara, recently has experienced an end of a personal battle. I do see that you have dealt with something that was difficult, and I do see that that is now diminished, and that you can you are able to let your guard down now. And I do see that if you haven't, you are soon going to feel a bit more calmer about your finances. You had some difficulties before, but I do see that this is going to change. At the present time, um, as part of this 6 months, currently, I do see that you are about to experience or have been enjoying a little bit of success. And if you haven't, it is coming, because I do see that you are a confident person, and I do see that you are determined. Um, I do see victories for you regarding your finances and even your health. I do see improvements and accomplishments and victories and in all these aspects of your life. I do see that you will achieve your goals because you have a strong will. You have the willpower to do this, and that's a very good thing. But be careful. Don't get too arrogant. Don't become arrogant, because whenever we do that, we we usually get a pie in the face, so to speak.
Mm.
So, but take satisfaction. You'll be able to take satisfaction, certainly, in your accomplishments, and you should. And I do see that in the future, I do see that you might perhaps become a bit of a workaholic. Perhaps it's a warning. Don't get too obsessed, okay? Because you might decide, well, it's great, but it's still not enough. I
Mm.
want more, more, more.
Why
And
don't people
actually,
do that?
right. Well, they do that. It just kind of happens, because especially if you were struggling before and now things are well, you think, well, I have to do even better. And actually, that's great. But don't get too obsessed. Don't forget that there is more to your life than just work. Don't let, don't ignore your relationships. Do put people, uh, who are important in your life. Always maintain those relationships, and don't sacrifice love and home and happiness for the almighty dollar, because you're going to do well. You have the willpower to do it, and I see that you're going to do it because you're going to make it happen.
I would add to that um, I see that as just as Joseph did, that for whatever reason you were invested in a job or a situation in the past that was very confusing. It it shows that it is at this time coming to an end, and there is a feeling that you should expect that April and may be a little bit of a struggle. But here's the thing: as you walk away from the old patterns that you invested in during a time of anxiety and crisis, whether that was online shopping, or whether that was doing things that you couldn't afford, or for buying clothing that you couldn't afford, or cars, or whatever it was. Once you walk away from that and just kind of clear yourself from all that stuff, you're going to find that a lot of that old crap is left behind you. And I'm shown that as a result of that, and it shows the hermit as you walk away from that old lifestyle, it's suddenly just like Joseph, you fall into something else. This is the 5 of Wands, which shows you stretching yourself really thin. I think just like Joseph said, suddenly you kick into overdrive and you're doing almost so well that you want to prevent another axe from falling on your neck of financial um, doubts. So where is the energy on this reading? The first one says, have no doubt. Have no doubt that you will eventually achieve success, and don't allow yourself to doubt that. The next one was, understand that an opportunity is going to arise. Take advantage of it. Don't procrastinate. It's meant to happen. And the last thing I see is, believe in yourself. Believe that every check you write brings money back to you tenfold, and that includes spiritually, and in your health and in your work lifestyle. So whatever you do, try to find some balance. And like Joseph said, don't overwhelm yourself. We have 1 minute and 54 cents. Joseph, say your prayer.
I bring the cosmic forces into my being, asking for strength, protection, and guidance. I bring the cosmic forces into my being, asking for strength, protection, and guidance. I bring the cosmic forces into my being, asking for strength, protection, and guidance. Protect me with your white light and help me to make the right decisions and to do well. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
That's very good. And remember that you can clear your space and clear your car and freshen up your energy for spring. Open up the windows, let out the residue, bunky energy. And if you want, get some sage and perform a sage ritual.
Or
But
the
whatever it
spray.
is, whatever the spray. And watch out for those potty ghosts. If you start having
Yeah.
problems with your toilet, watch out for the potty ghosts.
And how rude.
How rude. Bye, Joe.
Bye-bye.
See you
Bye.
next week.
See you next week.
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is achieveradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/achieveradio.
Hi, I'm Anne Marie Odell. At Achieve